Hello everyone, this is Jairam and 2RJ with another Hudson Division update. And this week we're going to talk about none other than Field Day. Yep, it's the fourth full weekend of June coming up, and we have amateur radio's most anticipated and probably most popular event. So let's get to it. So what is Field Day? Well, Field Day historically has been an exercise for portable operations. In 1933 QST, I believe it was January or February, there was an announcement calling for an international field day by none other than F.E. Handy, and he was one of the original authors of the ARRL handbook. So there was this call for portable operations, and it was basically billed as a day where you could take your stations out your house and test our capabilities with portables. Probably for emergency communications, which is one of the reasons why we have Field Day, but also to show the public what amateur radio is about, which is a major reason we have Field Day. But this year is going to be different because we also have a coronavirus and we have disruption and all sorts of other stuff going on. So some people are not going to be able to celebrate Field Day, to take part in Field Day the way they're accustomed to. And that has meant some changes. So we're going to go over these changes and see how you can make the best of it. So the first and most obvious change that has been made by the ARRL Programs and Services Committee is the ability of home stations to work other home stations. So there are two types of home stations. There is the Delta category, Category D, where these are stations that operate on mains power, meaning from your electric utility. And there are stations that operate in Class E, meaning emergency power. E for emergency, get it? And this could either be something like a generator, it could be batteries, it can be solar, it could be wind, micro hydro, whatever. The point is that you're not depending on the grid. So this categories do have one important distinction, and the important distinction is that Class E generally did not have any restrictions on who it could operate, on who you can work from Class E. Class D did have that restriction. So Class D was limited only to contacting other field stations, and you could not contact other home stations. So this kind of put a crimp in Field Day operation for many people, where if you operate from home as Class D, you kind of had to be careful when you were CQing, because if you worked in the Class D station, you would not get any points for it, so you could probably be making a lot of contacts for nothing. Although they say the points don't matter, they probably do for some people. So this year it was decided that because everybody's staying home, well, a lot of people are staying home, it might be better for us to allow Class D stations to work other Class D stations. And in doing that, it is a temporary rule waiver for this year. So how it works is that you can operate from your home power, meaning the mains, the electric utility, whatever. And then you can basically call CQ, or you can, and search and pounce like how you'd normally do. And you contact other stations, and it doesn't matter what they are, you still get the points credit. You can also operate one echo if you feel like showing that and testing your emergency preparedness capability. You can do that too. So as a matter of fact, I would recommend that. I would really recommend that you try to operate emergency power. It can be something as simple as using your vehicle battery. And by doing so, you actually are within the spirit of Field Day, where Field Day is about testing those portable stations. So that's home operation, and let's talk about the other change, which is club competition. So those of you who are like me that are in a contest club, this needs no explanation. Clubs, contest clubs such as FRC, YCCC, Arizona Outlaws, etc., PVRC, they all have their members submit scores to the ARRL or the CQ, and we in the big contest, and we pool our scores together for something called affiliated club competition. Now, affiliated club competition basically is just what it sounds like, where all of the members of the club pool together their scores, and the scores are ranked And there is actually a plaque in contention. So you have a lot of rivalry for that. And as a matter of fact, my contest club, Frankfurt Radio Club, FRC, we have been having that rivalry with the Yankee Clipper Contest Club, or YCCC, for many years now. I think it's historic, pretty historic. So Field Day has brought that this year. How it's going to work is that everybody in their individual operations will still submit a score. Remember, there is no log checking or adjudication or whatever. You're just operating and you're submitting a score, and whatever you claim to be your score is your score. So you submit that score, you submit the name of a radio club in your score summary, and then the ARRL computer would actually then tally up all the scores for different clubs and publish a listing. Well, you might think it might just be simple, but actually it's not. The thing you really got to keep in mind is that many people put the names for their clubs differently. Like up here in Sussex County, I have the Sussex County Amateur Radio Club. Some people refer to it as SCARC, SCARC. Some people refer to it as Sussex County ARC. Some people refer to it as Sussex County Amateur Radio Club. I can guarantee you pretty much that if you put 3 different spellings, if 3 different participants put different names for the club in their entry, it's probably going to be counted separately. And this can be a problem if you want your scores to count. So this is what I'd recommend. Get with your club, pick a name, and everybody use that name. And then you will have not really much of any problem. So that is the club competition. There are 2 minor points with that people have been asking. One of them is, how do you handle duplicates? As in, can everybody does everybody have to contact different stations? If one member of the club works one station, do we have to not have the other members worked out of the station? The answer, quite simply, is no. Remember, you're submitting an individual entry. You're not submitting one as part of a club effort. It's a nuance, but it's an important one. You're submitting an individual entry that gets tallied up for aggregated club competition. So you operate it separately. You can do whatever you want within the rules, of course. And that pretty much is how it will work, and how it's worked in other contests for years. The other question I get is, can all of us use the club call sign? The answer to that is no. There is probably one station that can use the call sign. If you actually have a field operation and you're using the call sign, sure, that'll work. But the other members who are not out within that 1,000-foot circle, that's still in effect, can't use the club call sign. They use their individual call signs and they specify the club name when submitting their entry. And that's how it'll work. Pretty simple. Okay, let's talk about another topic, which is what do I do if I'm operating from multiple locations? That's next. Okay, one question that came across my email today was somebody thought that, well, if I use my call sign at home and then I decide to go and set up in a public park, can I use the same class, and can I count the log together? The answer is no. You have to pick one category and stick to it. You also have to pick one location and stick to it. The only exception would be Class C mobile stations. So if you're a mobile station, you can pretty much by design go to different places. You do have to say which section you're in. For example, if I'm in northern New Jersey, and let's say I go out to New York City, Long Island in my car, and I have a radio in my car and I'm operating Class C, I'll have to send 1 Charlie NLI. Let's say I go up to Eastern New York, I'll do 1 Charlie ENY, and that's how it works. I will not be able to use NNJ anywhere else but NNJ. I mean, it's kind of fairly obvious, but some people actually were a bit confused by this. No worries, we've got it. Okay, so those are the categories for mobile and locations. Next, I'm going to have some tips on how to get the most out of field day this year. So as we know, social distancing has kind of become the hallmark of this year. I know you're tired of hearing the phrase. Well, you can still have a lot of fun socially distancing and having amateur radio. How about the clubs get together initially on a video conferencing platform, work out their strategy, and then they do some friendly competition among each other. So each of the club members tries to make the most of their scores. That's one way to spice it up. The other thing is that you can still operate outside. Now, you would be tempted to think that you can set up in your backyard and use that as a Class A or Class B. But in reality, those are Class E because you still have all the comforts of home. But it's still a good exercise in emergency preparedness. You know, you can pitch a tent in your backyard, you can throw up a wire in a tree and experience portable operation. You'll still be home. And those are two things which I think will enhance your field day experience. Remember, above all, field day is about emergency preparedness and it's about fun. And it's about showing the world what we can do. In this regard, there have been several queries regarding bonus points. One of them is if an official visits your, quote-unquote, visits your station via video conferencing like Zoom, does that count? And the answer kind of was yes. So if you have a mayor or a police chief or a sheriff or somebody virtually visit your station during field day, yes, that counts. You can still originate traffic to your section manager, that'll count. You can still make satellite QSOs, that'll count. You can still send a press release to your newspaper or other media outlet, that'll count. You can send some social media, you promote your operation on social media. Hey, why don't you make a YouTube video? That's social media. And then you can do Facebook, Twitter, and other stuff. A website does not count as social media. It must be one of the recognized social media platforms. So I think that pretty much is like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Reddit, YouTube probably, and some of the others. Okay, well that's been it for field day this time around. I'm going to have another update with some other league business. There's a lot of it brewing right now. Feel free to send your questions to n2rj@arrl.org. Please hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends, and be sure to see you next time. This is N2RJ, Ria Jairam, over and out, 73.